in person and by interactive conference technology. The meeting will also be recorded on Zoom. As a reminder, per Sunshine Law, AC members appearing remotely must keep their cameras on and announce anyone who is with them, except for minors in their location. We can take a roll call in introductions by chair. Committee member, Vice Chair Scott Nagata.
Here.
Committee member Ruth Smith.
Yeah.
Ruth, you were on silent. Your mic is off.
Here.
Committee member Julia Alos.
Present.
Committee member Kevin McLaughlin.
Here.
Committee member Peter Hendricks.
Here.
Committee member William Sanborn.
Present.
And myself as chair. We have quorum to hold today's meeting. Excused absences is Karen Anderson. From the county officials and staff. From the planning department, planning staff, Mariam Palma. Okay. Jessica Lahib.
Here.
Cabello Khalili. April Surprenant. Janice Hata. Natasha Soriano. And Shannon Arcatola.
That's not mine.
Okay, for housekeeping purposes, we want to make sure that all cell phones are turned off or on silent mode. If there's anyone here who would like to testify, please fill out the sign-up sheet form and give it to the staff. It's in the back on the back table when you enter. Zoom testifiers can send a message in the chat to the Zoom host indicating which item they wish to testify on. We only have the general plan on agenda today. We ask that everyone please state your name before speaking. And to all of us who are attending here in person, please remember to speak toward the owl camera microphone so everyone on Zoom can hear. There is a 3-minute timeline we want to keep when we're doing questions and answers portion further later. We have one at the time it's public testimony. The time is 5:07. Okay. So we'll have one of the committee hosts, staff, pass out the mic if you have to provide a testimony. The time is 5:07 p.m. The committee will now call for statements from the public as stated in the published agenda. Members of the public may provide public testimony regarding any agenda item now or at the time the agenda item is called to order. If there is anyone here who would like to testify, please fill out the form as mentioned earlier in the back. In person, we have one person or the community member who has signed in to provide public testimony. Momi Nocton.
Hello, myself, Cole. Before my testimony, I just want to explain something. A lot of you folks don't know me, but in the 70s, I was on the Waimea Kauai Community Association. Hisa Kimura was head, and then I was in the group that started Parker School. My ex-husband and myself and our partner started the Redwater Cafe. And so I have old history here and then newer. I was a director at Anna Ranch, on the national and local historic sites list. And my doctorate is in cultural communications and in perpetuation of culture. I have a couple of concerns reading the whole volume as I have today. One of them has to do with, just the historic sites, portion. I thought it was very lean, to say the least. And not a strong understanding of the history of our area. Just to give you an example, to support historic districts, we have what I find is that the county kind of works against itself sometimes. We have the historic corner where the old tax building is and all of that, and yet we've got a bypass going right through it, which is going to take out one of the buildings. And so that's one issue, excuse me. The other is the Native Hawaiian cultural practices. I'm very concerned about several sites here. Manaua being one. There's a heiau up by Anna's Pond. It's another that needs to be preserved. When Richard Smart leased the area by Jacaranda Inn out to the Rockefellers, he preserved those two sites. He knew the importance, and we need to continue that. The other has to do with, let's see. Just some of the other places that need to be preserved. Another place is an area called Papua, which nobody seems to know about, but those old timers, you know, the honking tree. It's way on the Mauna Kea side over there. It's the old Owai and Spencer property, and that is a historic property that needs to be preserved. Anyway, we have little pockets here and there. On the main road, we have a person that has been buying up properties, and some of them are historic in nature. Just to give you an example, the old Spencer house, and he hasn't purchased that, but the old Merton's house, which was the Montessori school. Many of you know it from that. The Merton's family, three very major cowboys, Buddy, Joe Jr., and Freddie Mertens were raised in that house. It's one of the few really old Paniolo houses around, and it has not just interest in our area, but on Oahu as well. The man that built it, Joe Mertens, his auntie married Henry Berger from the Royal Hawaiian Band, and the first UH classes were actually held at his father's house on Thomas Square. So there's a lot of, you know, heavy duty history, and it's sitting there boarded up at the moment. Okay. And what is the future? So I think my question there is, does one person get to come into town and mediate what is historic and important to the community, or is it something that needs to be worked on as a community? The other, protecting the views, I'm very concerned about the pu'us and encroachments on pu'us. What is to say that groups like, for example, Anna Ranch couldn't go ahead and build up in Wai'alia behind the ranch? They do own that property. And I think it's, even though there is some protection, I think it's kind of nebulous. Sorry.
Just a fair warning, it's 4 minutes. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, any other testifiers, or you want to finish up?
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Okay, one more. The other one that I am very, very concerned about is a development called O'Uli Farms, which is down on the coast, right above the Mauna Kea Beach Hotel. Farming, really. I'm writing a book on the history of Waimea right now, ancient stuff. That's all Pili Lab. That was never a farm. And so I think what happens is developers come in, they get the angle, oh, we're going to do Kohala ranches. Like, one walks in your yard, you know, that kind of thing. And you get away with murder. And I think that's something that we really, really need to look at. And at any rate, the other thing is that we would really like to build a museum and archive here in Waimea. And I have been talking to Cindy, although she says there are plans for the old, right adjacent to the park is the old community center. And it would be perfect because it's cement block. And we have a very important archive at Honeycomb Preservation and at Anna Ranch that needs to be preserved. And we need a place to house it, and we need a place to tell our history. The Heritage Center that I started in Kohala, we did the exhibits at Kohala Stables. They're kind of falling apart right now. But it's that type of thing that we need. People come here, they go, where's Papa Ranch? And we need something where we can, talk about the area. So I'm sorry to take so much time, but I did have other points, and I will give you a written testimony, and thank you very much. Thank you.
Is there any other person on Zoom that wants to give a testimony? Seeing and hearing none. Yeah, we have two more for after the presentation. There's one more testimony that I was getting to is Donna Thompson. On the back burner, we have Aaron and Kunike Chong. That's after the presentation for later. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Appreciate this opportunity to address you all. My name is Donna Thompson. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
All right. I've been on the island for over 7 years, and I've learned quite a bit about the culture, and I still have a lot to learn. And what I'm looking at in the general plan, I'm looking at it from more of a macro, larger picture. I have about 34 years in government, particularly in investigations and at the federal level. So I understand how big government works, and I understand about the corruption the government has had. That's one of the reasons I got out of government. This entire plan is basically a template that was handed down to all local communities in Western civilization from the United Nations. It started really with the climate agenda under ICLEI. If you guys want to look that up, it's very well documented in Hawaiian documents, but ICLEI is basically responsible for writing up a lot of this based on what they call human-induced climate change. Now, anyone that has studied the climate a lot, I'm an investigator, I've studied it pretty intensely. I've studied space weather, the sun, and consulted with a lot of experts at NASA and other areas. I can tell you that the sun and space weather is what's really causing climate change. Humans, yes, they do have impact, but it's less than 1%. So a lot of what's happening in this document, and I'm not opposed to a lot of this stuff because we need to have a plan, but they're blaming us for really an issue that's much larger, that's more corporate agenda. That's what this is really about. So I would ask that as we look at this plan a little deeper, that we really look at, as a community, how this is going to impact us, from the cultural aspect to rural to agricultural. I have a farm, I'm on ag land, and there's been changes after changes after changes coming forward, and it's all happening very, very quickly. Just yesterday, the United Nations passed basically the opportunity to take over the vote and have jurisdiction really over a worldwide scale. And that's pretty serious because that affects all of us. And that's probably what's going to allow World War III to break out if it happens. That would be a big deal. And so this is all part of that agenda. And so what I would ask you guys to do as you're looking at this and you're doing your testimonies and you're really looking at this deeper is find out who are the stakeholders. The stakeholders was written in the original document at least 40 times. Now I looked at the final draft and it's been taken out quite a few times, but we still haven't gotten a definition on who the stakeholders are, because it's really the people. This is about the people. And so I would just ask that we really focus on that aspect as we, want to have a sustainable community and be able to work together, especially as we're going into hard times. I will tell you the real reason why this is happening is because there are changes happening on the sun. There are changes happening to our magnetosphere. In 2015, the United States Air Force put out a document, and you can find it online, that is talking about how our magnetosphere was reduced by 40%, which has major impacts on our weather, which is why we're seeing a lot of this weather change, because our magnetosphere and our shield are down. Okay, and this is a natural cycle we're going through, and it's going to get a lot worse before it gets better, and that's what the governments are preparing for. Every single government in the world knows about this. And they're planning for it. They're digging underground for it. They're planning for it with their citizens. In 2016, the Obama administration put out an executive order. It was in October. You can look this up. That basically mandated that every single department have a plan for a major solar impact. Okay, this is in 2016. Then we saw all the charade going on with the election, and ever since then, nothing's made any sense. That's why it hasn't made any sense. Everything else is a distraction. We have to prepare as a community. I want to know more about emergency preparedness in this document, how the community is going to work together when there's no communication. How we're going to pool our resources, who can do what, who the doctors are. You know, who are the technicians, who can do construction. I want to know all the capabilities that we have, because as a community, that's how we can pull through this. No other way. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who joined on Zoom that would like to give a testimony? If not, I'd like to say there's a Anna Kaho. Anna, okay, I have it. It's in line. Got it. Thank you. State your name. First name and last name, and then.
Aloha.
Thank you.
I've been following the general plan since it came out, and I have.
State your name, please.
My name is Anna Kahopi. First of all, I'd like to know, when we give our testimony, who will be receiving it, and is it going to be recorded into the comments on the general plan?
It'll be recorded under the action committee.
Okay. And it will be recorded under the general plan as well, included the general plan comments. So we're transcribing verbal comments.
And will those points be addressed?
So part of what we're going to talk about tonight is that the process that we're in now is we've been through many years of comments and adjustments. And so now this is the recommended draft. So it will now go to the, there's this part of public input. Then there will be another part of public input when it goes to planning commission. But the department will not be making further adjustments. It will now go to planning commission for their recommendations, and then to the county council for their ultimate decisions on the plan.
Okay, I'm Anna Kahopi. So I've been following the general plan since it came out. And I have criticisms about the way this has been handled. So I have the time to go ahead and go through this massive document. It was absolutely ridiculous the way that we had to comment online. It was just migraine level of insanity. And I don't know how you would expect people who have to work and have children to be able to comment on something that was just, I would say, almost inhumane in the way that it was rolled out. So the way that we had to comment, you had to go through each sentence. And then if there was something you wanted to comment about, you had to click that on, and then you had to write your comment on the side. It was really not well planned in terms of people being able to participate. And then the community meetings were equally ridiculous. There was nowhere that all entire community could get together and learn from each other's manao and comment on what our community people were saying to each other. The meetings that I attended were all this sort of like segmented, where if you wanted to go about A, you went to A, and there was a person there. If you wanted to talk about residential, there was a residential section, and you had to go there and talk. There wasn't anywhere where we could all get together and talk or listen to what each other was saying, to listen to each other's testimony, and then be able to build off of that. So it's really segregating our community, us not only from each other, but community from each other community. So there was not an island-wide community where all of us could come together and talk about what all the plans were. The things that I found most disturbing, and I did not go back and look because basically it's exhausting. I really know 40% of the ag lands on the island
are gonna be rezoned. 40% of our egglands are gonna be rezoned. When I talked to the person who was in that group about the egglands, and I asked him how that was determined, he couldn't give me an answer. How are you determining that egglands are gonna be rezoned and will no longer be egglands? Well, they're useless. That's what he told me. How are they useless? Well, a lot of them are lava. Well, lava land is useful for eggland. So that was one thing. The other thing that I found really disturbing for every major community like Rania, Volcano, Hilo, Kona, the population was doubled. Now, how are you going to double the population of every community when we don't have water? How are you going to feed all these people when you're rezoning 40% of our egglands and then you're going to double every community? How are you going to feed all these people? We can't feed ourselves now. That's something that our community's been talking about for decades. We import 80 to 90% of our food. We have a 3-day food supply. And now you're going to rezone 40% of our egglands, and they're going to double our population. So just from that, I find the general plan incoherent and unacceptable. That's my opinion.
The next person we have, is Lloyd Lau. Is it Lloyd? Lloyd? Oh, Lloyd Case. Sorry, Uncle, I apologize.
My name is Lloyd Case. Everybody call me Hoy. I come from an old Hawaiian family. And our concerns is the infrastructure. I don't think we should have any more development in this town. I think we take care of water, take care of roads. And we pay 75% of all Atlantic tax, and what we get, lousy roads, traffic jams. But one of the other concerns I wanted to tell you, make you guys aware. I'm sure all of you guys have heard of this guy, Mr. Billy Hall. Yeah, they have bought land around us. Lives in Kohala Road where the baseball park is. And some of the land he bought for 50% more than what the land was worth. So what is happening to us local brothers over here? None of us can sell our land. We're not going to afford the land tax. Our land tax will triple within a couple of years. So you folks should make the local people who don't like selling land and eat to their kids, grandfather in. No raise our tax and push us out, and you wonder why all the local people moving to the mainland. Because we get pushed out. We can't even afford the rent. And then alone the land tax. You guys make it real hard for us with people over here. And another thing too, when it comes to sustainability, I'm sure all of you guys are aware. A lot of places in our forest land, they put into natural area reserves. And what they do, they want to preserve plants, rare birds and so forth, so they kill all our animals that we survive on. That's how we survive. Subsistence is you gather from the land. The Native Hawaiian can teach us that, and we still practice that till today. Our state put snares in our forest, they still trap all our pigs and let them die on top of the snares. And a lot of us, it's our food. We hurt. I mean, to me, in politics today, the one thing I see missing is nobody has common sense anymore. So I never get a chance to read this plan over here, but I will go through it with a fine-tooth comb and see what really is happening in the plans you have for our community. You know, a lot of us local guys, peaceful guys, we mind our own business, but now we gotta come to this kind of meetings to see what's happening and how it will affect us. Thank you very much.
Next up in line for testifying is Pierre Schuby.
Well, thank you for letting me share. I just heard about this meeting, but I was just getting some tidbits. But I must say, it takes a lot of courage for the local people to come to a meeting like this. And it's not easy because we come to things like this because it affects us. We were born and raised here. Why do we have to leave? But it's, you know, it's getting people into the office that have the heart for the people of this land. Because one day, this is not gonna be Waimea, and it ain't gonna be Hawaii. Do you guys want that? No. But it's hard because somebody has to come here and crack the ice for other locals to come and share their heart. You know, I don't have all the answers or all the hyperbolical words, because half of this stuff, when I read, I can't even understand it. I'm a preschool teacher. This is above my level. But why does it have to be like that? Why does it have to be to a point where that even a kupuna can't even understand, like how she said, that wants to go in and learn about it, but it's like, it'll just frazzle you. It's not right. And we've got to elect people into office that care about the town and develop Kohala. Richard Smart was a good man. And I always grew up being told that. But he had a plan for the people of this island. And it was to help sustain it. Who in here makes that kind of money to buy a 1.5 million cracker box house? Where you bring in the developers and they do that we'll build the house for you for $750,000. It's ridiculous. And then our children, I know my grandchildren can't afford that. Thank God we got Hawaiian Homes land and my grandchildren have enough to inherit. Why do they have to go that route? They should be able to have income, even if they work at McDonald's, to go and buy property over here. And with 1.5 million, who's gonna come into Waimea? Ain't the locals. And you know what? I'm not a prejudiced person, but I'm prejudiced when it comes to the point where it's only the ones that have the money to come in and buy the land. Waimea is too beautiful and too sacred to put it in the wrong hands. So it's one thing to have a panel of people and to come here and give an ear, but you gotta put it into action. You guys gotta do it. You are in position to do something. It's not just, well, we'll go over there and hear what they have to say. You've gotta do something to save this land, to save the people. Look at the homeless. They can't, there's not even to take care of the homeless that are on in this town. When we lived in this town, and I grew up with Lloyd, he was older than me, everybody over here, we cared about Waimea. Everybody cared about Waimea. We were Parker Ranch, Paniolo families. There were the farmers. There were the people from Honoka. We care, and I went to the other one with Benioff. But you know what? You're only given 30 seconds to talk. That's nothing. If you want to hear the voice, you guys got to come prepared to hear the voices of these people. And it's not just sitting there and taking it in and then going, well, they did say their piece. But you know what? It doesn't stop here tonight. You guys are responsible to take care of what we are trying to say. Because man, it hurts me when I wake up and I see what's happening to Waimea. Money is power. Money is power. And when you have money, you can do anything. You know, because the other little people like us, it's pretty powerless. We gotta go and pray to God. That God will help us to help sustain this land. Even beautiful Mauna Kea. I pray for that mountain. I said, Lord, don't let it be taken by people who want power and money. Power and money cannot. That's why the Hawaiians went up there to fight for it. Because you know what? That's all we're left with. We gotta fight for what we believe in. And I didn't even know about the meeting, because I don't, but they go, God, I go, I'm showing up. I go, we gotta speak up. We gotta fight for Waimea. Waimea is too beautiful of a place to have, you know, and then you're gonna have crime. You're gonna have more crime, you know, and it's just, I'm just here to voice it, you know, and we want our children to be able to buy land here in Waimea. One of my grandchildren have to move to Las Vegas. Why? That's wrong. And why do they have to go and get a job that, you know, I don't know, but tell me the job that's paying $20,000 a month, I'll go apply. And I will be a preschool teacher making $20 an hour. You know, to live here. I love Waimea. I love Waimea. I have the best memories. So we all got a voice. And you might not sound, it's not here about being smart. It's voicing. That's got power.
Aislinn, next testifier, Aislinn Chalker. Could someone get her on mic, please? Thank you. You state your name and you have 3 minutes.
Hi, my name is Aislinn Chalker. I live in Waikoloa Village and I'm a founding member of the Wildfire Safety Advocates of Waikoloa. I'm here to talk about the need for a second road for Waikoloa Village, and in the general plan, there are 7 highway projects identified for Waikoloa. I understand that the general plan is aspirational and meant to reflect the vision, values, and priorities of the community. What we're asking is to please prioritize a single road, a single second road for Waikoloa Village. 7 roads is not realistic. There is no budget. There's no budget for 7 roads to be built in Waikoloa between now and 2045. But the community urgently needs just 1 additional road would be really nice. In the general plan, one of the objectives says develop and or improve secondary access roads for those communities with only 1 means of an ingress or egress. I know Waikoloa Village is not the only cul-de-sac in Hawaii or even on the Big Island. 7 roads feels kind of greedy, honestly, for Waikoloa Village. We're not asking for 7. Again, we're asking for 1 additional prioritized road for Waikoloa. Thank you.
Thank you. The next testifier we have is Oana Wilcox.
Aloha. My name is Oana Wilcox. If you don't know who I am, you can Google it. I just wanted to, I'm the next generation, right? And I am raising my sons to be the next generation of speakers, because that's how we're gonna continue on our culture, is by teaching our children. The one thing I do have criticism on is, one, how can a Kanaka get on this panel, right? Because I really don't see one, other than you two, sorry, maybe you, right? But we need more of us on here. Anyhow, secondly, the roundabout that we have here that's going to be planned, right? I've lived on the mainland for several years, right? And I've seen how roundabouts do not work in areas such high traffic like Waiaka Bridge. And you want to put one out here in front of Parker School as well. That's not going to help traffic. That's going to increase traffic. It's going to confuse traffic, right? How are we going to have all of these 70-foot, 40-foot trailers come through the roundabout, because it scrapes around the sides and it's shown in Kohala. So that's out of the question. I think what we're doing for Waiaka is to improve that area for the people from HBA who can't get out into traffic, right? Because I see it all the time when I pass it. So that's issue number one. Issue number two is development, right? We are a Paniolo Kanaka town, right? We're hardworking people. We work the Aina, we work where we need to provide for our family, and we all come together and love each other, right? We don't need these people who are moving in with money, and I'm sorry if you haven't lived here for 10 years or more, we don't need any more in here, in Waimea town, because we are giving our own people. We are birthing the next generation, and they'll birth the next generation. So we don't want any more people here, honestly. And thirdly, Benny off, right? I don't care for the gentleman. I guess he's nice, but I don't care for him. Why? Because he has not come face to face with the community and the Kanaka. He has not come on to a public forum and say, this is what I have to say. This is what's going to do for people and right? And whoever is approving these land buys, that needs to be looked at as well, right? Because there needs to be approval for these large land buys. And also, how is somebody going to go and just give money to Hilo, and then they're going to change the Hilo Medical Center to Hilo Benioff Medical Center? Who approved that? That's asinine. This stuff should be renamed after the people of Hawaii, and that is the Kanaka people who are rightfully here and still here. And I won't rest, I won't stop telling you these things until all of my Kanakas back on the island that they belong. Mahalo.
Next, we have January Heron Whitehead. You have your minutes, thank you.
Aloha. One of the things that has bothered me, I went to the meeting that was at the Benioff Temple Community Center. And hearing about the land that was bought by and Benioff to be the new low income housing. And the builder who said his company built the first low income housing said, we're gonna have the people just like the last time. People who are gonna buy are gonna work every weekend. And somebody asked if, what if somebody from the mainland wants to buy? He said, well, we can't stop mainlanders. He said, but they have to work every weekend. So it sounds to me like the multimillionaires are wanting housing for the people to serve them. They want some people to have houses who will work at the gas stations, who will be waitresses, who will be cleaning hotel rooms and cleaning their houses and doing landscaping. He didn't give property down by Mount Kia Beach. They're not paying the people to do the work. They're saying you have to buy it and you have to come build it and then, pay whatever price they put it at. So that's my thought. Thank you.
Thank you. The next testifier we have is Hua case.
Aloha, everybody.
You have 3 minutes, thank you.
First of all, I just wanted to say, I'm not here. I don't think any of us are here to like attack you. We know that you've done hard work. We all sit in committees. We all have worked on major research and projects. So we understand that. But at this point, for those who are really going through this document, and I will be really honest to say, I just saw the document on my email the day before yesterday. Thank you, Momi. And so I don't know the last draft of what's included, but I can't wait to read it before I can come over here and say something. So I'm just letting you know that, but my husband has. And if you know my husband, Kalani Flores, who's not here with me tonight because his question was exactly what I asked earlier through Anna. What are you going to do with this heartfelt, factual, spiritual, emotional testimony that we are providing? if it's just gonna be documented and passed along to the next committee, and this is a point where there's really no action anymore, we're just hearing the last little bits of what we have to say, and then it goes on, and I'm not sure if that's what it is. It just sounded like that. So maybe I'm wrong about that, but I think if we're here to actually give testimony, then that means that there has to be some action to that testimony, because what we're providing you is up-to-date information, and I'm not sure how current what you have is in there, because this has been a draft from how long? You know, so I'm not sure how really up-to-date this is and how current it is, and I'm a little bit worried about that. So I wasn't gonna say anything, and really I'm not bashing anybody, but you better believe I'll stand like I stand on the mountain for Waimea, because what else we gonna do? You know, I'm hearing my uncle talk about his land tax and where he lives. That's my grandma Kay's house. You know, that's the Case homestead. We raise our pigs up there. We raise our families up there. We are a cornerstone of this community in cultural life ways. And so when I hear him say that, you know, buy all around him, now, you know, what he can do? It's not just him. It's a lot of us. If we don't own an old ranch house, you know, or Hawaiian homes, then we're looking at land taxes that are going to drive us out of here because billionaires or whomever is coming in. And yes, there's a direct consequence. Maybe they bring in some economy, they bring in some funding, they bring in whatever. And of course, they always donate because that's the way developers are. They give you some scholarships. They give you some low-income land. They give you morsels and little bit grains of sand. And then pretty soon, if we brought a map out and saw how much he actually had already bought and what his intentions are, I think we'd all be scared right now of where we're going as Waimea. And I know I have 3 minutes, but I'm gonna just say that my dad, you know, I think my dad said, get up, girl, because till my dad's last breath, and he just passed recently. I tell you, yes, my Uncle Lloyd, till my dad passed, he was worried about the water. He's 91. And every day I go over, he go, girl, how's the water? Supply and demand, you know, that well, I don't know about the well, if you know it's healthy. And I don't know, no enough water for us already in Waimea. And look, all the development, it's supply and demand. And he said, you cannot stop speaking about the water. And if you know my dad, he was the water superintendent for Parker Ranch my whole life. He knows the water, and not only the water, he knows everything about this place that I hold dear and why I stand. And I'm only saying that because it's the truth. If we cannot take care of the water, then nothing else matters. And I think we're going on development, roundabout, this, that, this. But the water, you guys, is a huge issue. And I know my dad is proud because I'm saying it tonight. And I'm saying it for you, Dad. William, Bill, Casey, Newton Case, who stood for the water for Parker Ranch for his whole life, is saying, take care of the water. That reservoir is not even repaired up there. And I keep calling the Department of Water Supply and asking them, when you guys going to repair that water? Because even if we have water, we know the storage. There are some real concerns. And we as Hawaiians here, we're fighting to retain what you guys all hold dear when you move here, no matter when you moved here. You moved here because you love the Paniolo legacy. I know you do. You moved here because you love our culture, not just the beauty of the place, but who we are as a people. And when we're frustrated and we're angry, or we feel like we're losing something, and why we don't come to these meetings? Because when we go home, it affects our families, doesn't it? Because we go home, we sit on the table, and we complain, we cry, we feel like we're losing a whole off of our community. And so that's why you see the local people over here, because it's ega for us. But some of us have to do it. And when I go home, that's what my husband asked me to ask you. He has written tons of comments because Popohakuloa, he wrote 42 pages of comments on their EIS draft plan. He will write constructive, beautiful comments. He's not going to rip you guys to shreds. He'll write constructive, great comments, but he said, should I put the effort into it? Is it going to matter? Is it going to create action? Is it going to make change? Because there's so much that has been watered down or taken out, even about the Mauna and many other things. So I'm still asking that question because I want to go home and say, no, it'll matter, Flores. Never mind if you got to stay up all night. Write all these comments because they need it. But he's not going to do it unless you really need it and really are going to take it into action. And trust me, it'll be a treasure if you get it. So, I mean, I love you guys. My community, I mean, some of you showing up maybe for the first time or you went to the other meeting because you said, that's not our community center. Don't call it a community center. So my advice for the Waimea Association, if you're in here, please, the meeting in there was very difficult for us. One, that's not our community center. We have one already. But two, when you're in a church setting, which is beautiful, it's hard to do the back and forth and to really come to hard answers and have big discussion, even though I know that's not what your meeting is about. Let's have our meetings at the community center, at the district park. It's big enough for all of us, and it is our community center.
Kalamaya to 8 minutes in.
8 minutes, and you know, I think I've earned the 8 minutes, and all of you have too. But I understand that, and thank you for letting me, not letting me, because I would speak anyway, but for embracing what I'm saying.
So right now, we don't have any prior to the presentation. We're gonna go into the presentation first, but I just wanted to give the lineup on the public comment after that's already submitted to just, you guys can prepare, is Erin Perchoshin, Hulike Chong, Kohala Wilcox, Noea Lindsay, Pomai Berderman, and Ursula Chong. So if you guys still wanna, let's, okay, and then Tiara Flores. Thank you. Okay, so at this time, it's 5:51 PM. The committee will move to the first business of order. Is the final draft general plan presentation. The presentation and question and answer by planning department staff regarding the final draft general plan 2045. And please watch previous workshop recordings and review meeting packet materials, as this item is intended to provide South Kohala specific information related to the CDP.
Aloha, my name is Natasha Soriano, and I am with the County of Hawaii Planning Department in Long Range. I specialize in infrastructure, and one of the authors of this plan. So you guys can go with me, that's okay, I can take it. In any case, we're here today kind of to just give like an overview of the general plan. I know for some of you, this might be your first time looking at it, or you may have gotten it in the last couple of days. We realize there may be more questions than answers, and a lot of comments, and I really do appreciate everything you guys have to say so far. So overall, the general plan is really this overarching document for the county. it has general in it. It does seem lofty, and that's because it's supposed to function with other plans like our CDPs or special area plans, urban development, and then helps trickle down into these two facets through the CDPs, looking at regulatory measures to help implement the general plan. And then on the agency side, looking at the agency's functional plans or their working plans, how that they're programming some of these actions or projects to help implement the general plan. And then that gets put into our CIP or capital improvement program operating budget that's done every year. So for this comprehensive review, to date, there's only been 3 other general plans starting in 1971. So this is the 3rd time we're doing a comprehensive review. And there are some big changes that we've done from the 2005 plan to this current plan that was initiated in 2015. Here's a little bit of project timeline history. It was initiated in 2015 or the 2005 general plan. Since then, we've had several mayoral administration changes and some natural disasters that kind of hindered the timeline or had the planning department focus in either recovery for lava or hurricanes. So then in 2019, we picked it back up. We did those speak outs, mass speak outs, and had people comment, give their novel, kind of more of an intimate setting to help people really be able to say things that maybe they wouldn't necessarily say in a big forum. But with that, again, you know, we were hindered a little bit by the countywide COVID response, and then the new administration, the Roth administration in 2021. But we at the planning department didn't stop ever working on the GP. And since then, we refined it and reviewed it based on our public outreach and comments. And in 2023, we did the public review draft that we had sent out. That was the first iteration. And then from the comments off of that 23 document, we did the 2024 final recommended draft. So this would be the planning director's final recommended draft that we are then forwarding onto our planning commissions, and then that would get forwarded to county council.
When you said you sent it out, in what way? The 2021, I think you said?
In 2021, we didn't have a draft. 2021 was the new Roth administration. And then in 2022, we continued to prepare policy and document preparation. In 2023, we released the draft unveil similar to how we did in this past July.
So I would add in terms of answering how it was sent out. So we have lists, all the different departments within the county have what are called listservs. They're email serves where people sign up to be notified about different things. And both in the 2019, the 23, and this draft were sent out to all of, we don't just send out who signed up for planning, we send out to everybody that's on the list. We ask our council members to send it out to their constituents. So we try to get the word out very wide. We send out a press release. We've had several newspaper articles. There have been radio announcements. We've put up flyers in various places. So we've tried to do as much outreach, ask community organizations to also send it out. We have a number of different social media. We have 3 different social media accounts, and we regularly send out updates and alerts of when something is coming out and things of that nature. So we're doing everything we can, and we're always open to other ideas and being even better informed about how to get the word out. But that's what we've done thus far in the various drafts that we've had. We've also done county council updates. So that's another public hearing process where we've gone to county council and provided updates throughout the years. We come to the action committees. That's another public hearing, or not public hearing, but public meeting process. So we try to take advantage of all of the different avenues that are in front of us. Thank you.
Can you guys make it so that when you guys put out these public notices, that how would it affect the community instead of just putting out the plan? You know what I'm saying?
So if I understand your question, and just so I can say it on the mic, you're asking that our public notices in the future include how whatever plan we're putting out affects the general public. Is that what you're
Yeah,
asking?
well, I mean, the whole island, right?
Yes,
Each section is
Understood.
different, but, you know, if you tell your legislators or council members how it will affect their particular community, and then maybe they will be a little bit more responsive in coming to these meetings and testifying. And things like that.
understood, understood. I appreciate that. Thank you.
So this slide just kind of shows a summary of our community outreach since 2015. We've had 12 in-person workshops, 4 technical workshops, myriad of topic-specific roadshow and action committee meetings, such as here, throughout the islands, and really totaling about 4,020 plus people participating in these public meetings. And then on the more legislative side, we've gone to council in 2015 and throughout the years, 7 times with council resolutions. We've had public notices, press release, we've updated council several times. We've met with landowners, and then a breakdown of the different drafts of the plan over the last 5 years. In summary, our engagement opportunities for this plan, we're kind of winding down. We've had public workshops, both in Hilo and Kona, as well as an online workshop. We are using the ACs to help facilitate community meetings. We are taking comments still on the Conveyor website, and if you choose to just submit by email, that is just fine as well. And we have a planning website dedicated to the general plan as well. Go ahead.
I just want to reiterate that is, there are a lot of people who really like the interactive website online, but there's some people that doesn't work for them, and that's completely fine. And so we invite all comments, written, verbal, like we've already said tonight. We'll be transcribing these comments and we'll be including that. So I just want to make sure everyone's clear that even though there is an interactive website, we will take any comments that you provide to us, letter or email or in any form that you choose to submit. Thank you.
Thank you. So what to expect next in the process? We had debuted this final recommended draft from the director in July 29th. We've had our public workshops that are going on into October. We've had public meetings, the workshops have gone into September 5th with public meetings still ongoing. And public comments are due on September 26th. And again, just to clarify, our public comments and this public comment period is not necessarily for us to make changes to the current draft, as we've kind of gone through an extensive process. What we're really looking is to gather thoughts to help our planning commissions make decisions about the draft. So your comments are still very important. And then there's more commenting period throughout the time before it gets adopted in any way. We have 2 planning commissions. We still have county council. All of those times comments will be taken, testimony will be taken, and so there's a lot of interaction and a lot of input that can still be given.
Would petitions be a viable source of community strength? Say, like, we don't want the roundabout, and like we got 5,000 members of the community that signed up for that. Would you guys take it into effect that the people in the town don't want the roundabout?
So to just specifically just the roundabout, that is a state project, so that would have to go to the State Department of Transportation. As those are also state-owned roads. What the general plan is looking to, cover are things that the county can control. We do have language in there where we want to be able to either affect or collaborate with state agencies, federal agencies, private agencies, public agencies that are not county. But recognizing that, the general plan in its effect is really, governing what the county can do. If that, does that help?
Well, it seems like you guys gotta, right, that roundabout at HPA is exactly where Father Damien's church was. He built a church here before he went to Molokai. Are you guys sharing that kind of information? Because there are burials there.
Yeah, and so there are, there is collaboration there. They do, when projects do come in, especially for like, meeting 106. We do take that into consideration. We do have a Cultural Resource Commission that makes comments on projects as well. So there is collaboration, there is interaction in those sense. All right, for more information, we do have the QR code, and we can put this back up at the end of our presentation, but it just, we have two QR codes, one to our general planning website with all the information, background information, policy rationale. So a lot of things that went into the research of the document and our policy building. And then the Camille website itself, where you can comment directly, or you're able to read the draft. And if, again, so you have two choices. You can submit written comments through our email, planning GP, right? No, I'm sorry, general plan at hawaiicounty.gov.
It's on your handouts
Yeah.
at the bottom, as well as the website.
Or you can use the website if you're more comfortable with the direct commenting onto the document.
September 26th is the last day of the time.
Yes, as part of the process, but send them in. September 26th.
Thursday.
So again, that's this part of the process. It's a multi-layered process. So, which is dictated by our current general plan, in chapter 16, for those of you who are into that. So we are going by the process that's set before us, which has been kicked off after going through the multi-years of drafting, and community outreach. This part of the community input ends on September 26th, but that's not the last opportunity. There's plenty more opportunity. So the Planning Commission is the next step. And so they take all the testimony and all the written comments, and that becomes part of the overall package. They make recommendations, and then all of that goes to the county council. And then they really get up in their elbows and really get into it, and they make recommendations based on the plan. So all of your comments are always important, and we urge you to do that. If not by the 26th, there's plenty of opportunity afterwards.
Yeah, so what I would say is, we're looking at late October for those first PC meetings. So even if the 26th seems pretty soon, there's still time for you to take your time and review it in the way you want to, in the pace you want to. You have about a month from here. And then you'll be able to submit comments and testimony to PC. And then again, council, yes.
So hang on 1 second, just to add to that. So Planning Commission has 5 months. Once it gets submitted to the Planning Commission, they have 5 months to review and make their recommendation. So this is not a short process. And then even after that, there's about a month's lag in between it coming from Planning Commission to County Council. And then County Council honestly can take as much time as they want. I will say in 2005, it was at County Council for something like 4 to 5 years. It doesn't mean that it has to take that long, but County Council can take as much time as they need or want to deliberate any level of detail in the plan.
So something like a bypass road, which has been in the books since the 1960s, and we certainly talked about it in the 70s when I was on the council. We got to keep talking about it. We're Lahaina. We're gonna, I mean, if something came through here, particularly on the dry side, where are people gonna go? Traffic is horrible. It's ridiculous.
I think you had a question. January, is that right? On the list you have of the different kinds of meetings you have on all the islands, and you said a total of 4,020 people have attended. It was, if I got all the numbers right, it was 69 meetings, which averages 58 people per meeting. I think you need to broadcast when there's gonna be meetings, have different kinds of meetings. You could have meetings outside during the day. Not everyone can come in the evening at one place. More people need to be reached about what's happening.
I agree with that, because as, I'm 27 years old, and I'm, used to be here one year, and now we get all the sometimes, like, since years, 2015 meeting, the first year. As far as social media, as far as newspaper, as far as on TV, on the radio, it is very rarely that we ever come across notice it. Very last meeting.
Yeah.
Very last meeting where, yeah, get out and go and just get to that meeting to support and try to find out. And then, I won't be late, and there are people who, when I inform me, say, it's the first time they see me fast. And these are not people who just come in. These are people who do this over, and been doing this. So I think that is, I follow that. There's gotta reach a bars right now, and it goes out and notifying people.
We appreciate that. Thank you all. Yeah, thank you.
One more question, Mr. Ferguson.
Yeah. You know, I just, looked at your screen here and it says, 2 pages before this, it says, what to expect next. And from what I've been hearing, you've got a planning commission here. And once you've formulated a conclusion, it's brought forward to the council. And I think for most of us, we feel a lot of distrust in the council. Because that non-dedicated agricultural use law that's in place in effect and is supposed to be in effective on the year 2026 is affecting a lot of people, and it's targeted basically to small farmers. And how can council determine how much land you need to raise a certain animal? Right now, they're looking at 5 acres for livestock, meaning sheep, cattle, goats, what have you. Whether it's large animals or small animals, you're still being held to this criteria. Who makes these rules? I don't understand. How does it affect, like the gentleman said, how does it affect us before you make these rules? I don't think we even consider it. So it builds a lot of distrust with government. And for me, I was hoping of ways to ousted Heather Kimberly, because she was instrumental in bringing on this House bill that is affecting a lot of us. And we're hurting to a point where some people are saying that families, mostly local people, are looking at abandoning their place, selling and moving to the mainland, someplace in Montana or other areas that they can afford. And the other part is on that bill, there's nothing considered on sustainability. Everything gotta be accountable, it's gotta be brought to tax dollars, and guess what? It makes money for the county. They don't care about how much you gotta pay per acre, they care about how much money is go into their funds so they can do whatever they need to do or wanna do on their agenda to make their life a lot easier. No strings, because we get a lot of money in our pocket, and our mayor right now, Mitch Rod, said he gets the best funding rating in the state of Hawaii. Why? Why do he have the best funding rating in Hawaii? I tell you why. Because of these rules that's being brought out to hurt us and fill their pockets and their budget so that they can do whatever they need to do. Which I think is very unfair to all of us, people that have agricultural land.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
All right, so our vision statement, that we wrote for for the general plan really is deeply grounded in community values. We took a lot of our language for what you see on the screen from our CDPs collectively. We looked at the 2005 draft, and really tried to bring in the collaborativeness of what's coming from the CDPs. Sustainability was a big criteria in a lot of the CDPs, and diversifying our economy. With that vision and goals, the general plan then is also broken up into objectives, guidelines, and then really what the actionable parts of it are policies and actions. So what kind of projects we're going to put forth, what kind of code amendments we need to put forth in order to achieve the goals of this plan. And then lastly, something that differs from this plan, from the 2005 plan, is that it really took a look at sustainability principles and practices, looking at cultural sustainability, economic sustainability, really looking at regenerative economy, and then looking at our environmental sustainability. So protecting our resources like water, our historical resources, and those things that really sustain life. And then before we go on, this is kind of how the plan is broken up. Obviously, we have an introduction. We start off with collaborative biocultural stewardship. And then a quick chapter of climate change and adaptation. And then we're really looking from those as like the pillar or the foundation, then we're looking into sustainable development, the land use, the roads, the utilities, and that is all culminating in a thriving and diverse and regenerative economy. And then lastly, we have implementation. How are we going to be able to achieve this together? And so we'll quickly go through some of those chapters tonight.
Yeah, I think we're just gonna, given where we are in our time for tonight, because we want to hear from as many people as possible as well, but given some of the comments, we have over 80 slides that we could get into, but a lot of that is also in the workshop. So if you weren't able to attend the workshop, they are available. The recordings are available online on our website and on our YouTube channel. So we invite you to take a look at those because it will give you a broad overview of what we're talking about tonight. But I'm happy to get into more detail about some of your questions as it pertains to the general plan, but I will say there are a number of things that are being talked about that are at a more detailed level, sort of outside of the scope of the general plan. So we're going to try to answer as many questions as we can and address your concerns, but some things are actually outside of the authority of the general plan. So again, just the purpose of the GP, as we call it for short, is to provide that sort of broad, flexible, overarching guideline for the whole county and all of the various departments and subject matter that the county oversees. The overall goal for the general plan, the land use, section in the general plan is to strategically apply progressive land use strategies, incorporating indigenous and contemporary knowledge and place-based practices to direct and manage growth for the health and safety of our communities. And some of the objectives under that are specifically targeted to maintaining our community character. And this is community character based on the community, not based on what I think or what someone else thinks. It's based on what you think. Integrating natural systems planning. So that's understanding, again, being rooted in the natural and cultural resources and planning around that, increasing more equitable decision-making across the board at the county level, and reducing the impacts of natural hazards. We have a lot of natural hazards and we have very different hazards all over in different areas of the county, and trying to understand all of those different hazards and really working to reduce the impacts of those and mitigating how do we respond to those and the like.
Before you move on, I want to,
Yeah.
I just want to make a quick note. When we go forward and we're looking at maps, we're looking at future land use. So we're not taking away whatever zoning you have now. If you are zoned agriculture, you will stay zoned agriculture. These maps really are looking toward what would we want to see in the future? How far would we take development in a certain place? So if it says agriculture on these maps, the furthest you can do in rezoning would be to agriculture. If it says low density urban, like in Hilo, the furthest you could go is low density urban. You're not gonna go higher density than what we have in these maps. So I just wanted to kind of set that stage, because in some of the other ones, there has been confusion as to what our land use maps here in this plan means compared to what your zoning is. So what your zoning is will not change.
So I looked at the map and I don't see O'Uli Farms on it. I looked at the new map. So here's somebody who's claiming they're doing an agricultural thing. They're going to have, all these millionaires are gonna go farm, right? And you guys approve this plan?
So just to address some of that, if a piece of land, regardless who owns it, is zoned
Right,
5 acre agriculture,
right.
they are allowed by right, just as you are. If you own a piece of land, call it 100 acres, and it's zoned 5 acre ag, you are allowed by right to subdivide that land into 5 acre parcels.
They're doing.
So if that's the zoning, whatever the zoning is what they are allowed to do. In order to change the zoning, that goes through a county council, a lengthy planning commission and county council process. So if that's what the zoning is,
Somebody on lava, peeling grass, it's gonna farm. 1/2 acres.
If you give us a little bit of time, we will get to some slides that then we can kind of go over what that would mean, what changes mean. Our point is, if zoning exists, I'm not familiar with where that development is in their rezoning. Yeah, but I don't know where they are in their process. But whatever zoning they have currently, that's the zoning you have. The only way you change that is to go through the process of rezone. That's also a public process that goes through PC and then goes to council. So it's not a rezoning is not subjective and is not a director's decision is what I'm trying to make clear.
No, I get it, but I'm just saying, and that's obviously ag, so they call themselves Oatly Farms. They're doing 1/2 acre farms. And it gets approved because they're using the term farm.
I'd like to interject here as the chair, excuse me, and hold that comments to later. Maybe we get more time by for talk about that. Just because we are on time, and I'd like for these 9 individuals to have the opportunity to share their monotony as well with the action committee, if you don't mind, and maybe you guys can kind of take brief topics of what you guys heard from the comments earlier today and kind of hit those points so we can get that taken care of right now. Thank you.
yeah, I think I'm gonna move forward to another slide. And before I cover that one, I want to cover this one. So, this is just a snapshot for the whole island for 2005. This is what the land use looked like. Actually, let me go back to this one. So you can see the higher intensities are darker colors. So high density urban is in red, orange is medium, yellow is low. Urban expansion is in the stripes. And then we have a heavy industry and a light industry. This is in order to accommodate more service industry and not have those types of light industrial or service industry business parks be mixed and mingled with heavy industrial uses. Then there's university, resort, and rural. One of the things that this plan is trying to accomplish is a better transition between these urban uses and our agricultural uses by increasing the use of rural. And in rural uses, what's allowed is residential, basically smaller ag lots, like family ag is a zoning district that's allowed, or residential ag is also allowed, as well as other agricultural zones, but it's a transition between larger lot agriculture and the smaller lot, urban areas. So just to help clarify that. Where a lot of these justifications and decisions have come from is not only from our community and working with community over the years, but also we borrowed a lot from our community development plans. You'll see reflected in the maps, the various master plans. The HHL is a good example where we've consulted with them. Again, creating that transition between different densities. And then we, of course, also looked at state land use, the 2005 general plan, and in some cases, the zoning. Particularly with state land use, we looked at conservation. And there was a lot of state land use conservation that was not noted as conservation in the general plan previously, in the current general plan. And so we've made an effort to try to list those designations in this draft from whatever it may have been listed to conservation, because it's state land use conservation, and those lands are very valuable to us. So this is just a snapshot of a couple of different areas, but if we have time, I'm happy to go online to the interactive map and zoom in wherever you guys want to go and look. But this is just an example of where there's some medium density in the Waimea area with low density, some rural along the fringe, and then more of the ag uses. This turquoise color is conservation. That's part of Waipio Valley area. And the same in the Waikoloa area. There's so the village, the golf course, low density urban, where some of these developments are already happening, and then a node which exists in the current general plan. This one's a little bit larger, again, to try to provide more services for the communities out here. There's more conservation, so this was added conservation based on state land use conservation in that area. But what it looks like in a quick sort of snapshot of how much land is dedicated to each different type of land use. Before, in the current general plan, or now I should say in the current general plan, we have urban uses that come down to this line, that come up to this line with less rural area. And so what we've done is really tried to better utilize the urban expansion, which is really it can be anywhere from high to low density urban, and we've tried to better designate that more specifically with overall for the county less urban expansion land, more rural land, again to make that transition between agriculture and urban type uses. And then in agriculture, we added a designation called natural, and this is more for passive uses. Sometimes it is pasture use, but specifically the natural is also used in the higher elevations where it's very important to try to maintain our native tree canopy. Part of that helps to sustain our water table underneath. So really the health of our water in the ground starts with the trees in our upper highlands. So, but it also does allow for agriculture. So it's not taking away those lands that could be used for agriculture. It also, again, as Natasha said, does not change the zoning. If it's zoned agriculture, it can still be used as agriculture. There were just two other changes in the agriculture districts. Currently in the general plan, the productive ag lands are noted as important ag lands, and over the many years, it's incredibly confusing for a lot of people in comparison to the state land use that's called important ag lands. And so people get very confused about the difference between the state IAL, as we abbreviate it, and the county general plan IAL. So we changed the name, and after getting a lot of input about that, we changed the name to productive ag, which is frankly exactly what it is and intended to be. Orchard is also productive ag. So we added that to productive ag and took away the orchard designation. And then, as I've already discussed, natural. So what that looks like for our island, in a comparison, is that the ag lands have generally, stayed the same with just a little bit different distinction in the designations. And a slight increase, in conservation, again, based on, PONC lands, for those of you who are familiar with our public open space fund that purchases public lands. A lot of those are coastal lands, and those are all now noted as conservation in here in the draft. And you can see most of the natural areas, not all of this high area was already noted as either conservation or natural, but some of these upper highland lands were designated as natural, again, for if they had a lot of native canopy in place.
This slide in this packet.
They are not in that packet, but all of this is available on our website, and I'm happy for our staff. We can make these slides available. We have it captured. We'll put them on our website, and if we want to send out a link, staff, Mariam, were you getting that for me? Thanks. We can send out a link to where they will be located as well, so that you can see all of these slides. Happy for you to have that. So with that, I think I'm going to pause, Chair, and we can take more questions. And yeah.
I could take a question, maybe 3, and then get to our testifiers.
Yeah, if you go back to the slide of Guinea and the different zones and the coast, you didn't mention, you said the purple was resort. Resort. So resort includes residential? Well, there are residential uses within the resort designation. Yes.
You might want to spell Waikoloa correctly, but, the other, so are we talking right that just above, is that the area that's gonna be the farms?
Up here, it's further
The
up.
orange, okay,
Just a punado for sure.
oh, okay.
Normal of that.
I don't know about the rest of you people in here, but a lot of this information is referred to on website, and I'm older already. A lot of times you guys mentioning going to a website to look up information. Who has that kind of time if you're working? I don't. And that's kind of discouraging for people like me. The other part is talking about the aquifer and the vegetation that feeds the aquifer. That's a nice picture you have up there of the trees that feeds the aquifer. I don't see any trees like that on the woody feeding the aquifer. The other part is a lot of times we work in reverse and we say, you know, whoever is in charge, say that there's plenty enough water to feed the whole population, even if it doubles in the Waimea area, Waiaka, going down to Waiai. A lot of times we find that not to be true after the fact, after the damage is done. So I think and I feel that there should be extensive studies done before moving forward with this development of these farmlands that's to be developed down the Waiai Road. Because it's gonna be a lot more irrigating than the irrigation up here far up here, because we get a lot more rainfall than they do down there. And I don't think it's fair that we gotta sacrifice a lot of our water resources to feed those people down there. We were here first. And I feel like they should take care of us first.
Thank you, sir.
I'm sorry, I see a lot of hypocrisy in all of this, with this whole general plan. Talking about conservation efforts, biodiversity. And take an example of Woolly Farms. We wanna do this, watershed help, and people just said about the status of our watershed up above in our reservoir. We like do all this kind of stuff, but we allowing all these other projects to be done. Your functional plans, water, I just mentioned that about the water and our broken reservoir. Wastewater,
Hilo, Kohala, Kohala, spills every single time. What's gonna happen here? The next one on you guys is transportation. We get old dump buses running Helion, and then we subcontract it out to Roberts for transportation around the island. Okay, what else? Parks and Recreation. Why are we here? This is Hawaii Homes. You guys have a county community center. It's not large enough. You know what? It was built in the 80s. That needs to be upgraded. So we can hold these meetings here, not rely on Hawaii Homes. Or not on Monarch Christian Ohana. The other one is Parks and Recreation. That grandstand been there since I was a kid. Pretty soon it's gonna be deemed unsafe. It's all wood. When are that, it's gonna be looked at, changed, upgraded for the safety. My dad always say you gotta walk before you run. So we gotta fix all this stuff here currently before we start looking at the future. There's not gonna have anything for my kids, my grandkids for the future. If we don't even take care of what we have now. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I would like to highlight that we are operating under this 2005 general plan. So every decision that was made is under that 2005 plan. Until we can adopt something like this, there is no guidance to change that. So this is part of that. If you do not agree with the things that are being said in here, that you don't agree that this is the right vision, please come up and say that. Put it in writing, come to the PC testimony. But I just want you guys to understand, right? We're making decisions now, and we all not happy with the decisions, but we looking back to what GP we have, that's the GP we have. It didn't talk about sustainability. It didn't talk about any of those things. So that's how these decision makers are making their decisions. So that's what, when you guys go and look at this GP, really look at it from that place is this a better product than what we had 25 years ago? I hope it is. I still put my name on it. It was like, I'm great. I'll put my name on it. And if you don't agree, I welcome that discussion. Okay, so mahalo for all of you guys. Wanaho, your honor too. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Natasha. Okay, we'll take the first testifier, Erin Petrosian.
Aloha, I'm Erin Petrosian, and I'm born and raised on the Big Island. I went to school in Pierre at Small World, and I know a lot of people in the room. 8 generations in Hawaii, and super proud to have been raised here in Waimea. I wanted to talk about some of the conflicting objectives in the general plan. So it's deeply aspirational. There's tons of really great stuff in the plan about conservation, about sustainability, climate change. I think there's even some aspirational goal to have all the county fleet vehicles be electric by some date in there. And I read the whole plan, by the way. It's I read the whole thing, which is a lot. I was like 260 pages. It's like crazy. And I'm an environmental scientist and environmental consultant, so I do a lot of permitting with county and state. So it's kind of my profession and interest. But when I look at some of those aspirational goals, I think they're great, but then I kind of want to come back to something that Mr. Ferguson said, which is like, how are we going to pay for all that? And I think it's more about like, how do we pare it down a little bit more than, it's like more about what can we eliminate from the plan to really focus on how to pay for the things that we need as an economy, we as a people, like, are important to us. And when I look at like, yes, would it be great to have electric cars for the county? And would that be great for the environment? Absolutely. But at the same time, we have deep infrastructure needs that aren't being filled. We need water, roads, all those things really are kind of like more important at this point to me in the near term than some of the long-term issues with climate change. That being said, also, what I don't see in the plan is also a lot of zoning for industrial use. And this is kind of a tough topic for some people because industrial zoning and industrial use is kind of like counterintuitive, right? It's not environmentally sustainable. I don't want to see more power plants. But at the same time, if we're gonna look for infrastructure for us to have better water, more affordable power, transportation, all those things require heavy industry at some level. And I see very little increase in industrial zoned lands that are actually gonna create the things that we need, right? So the infrastructure, heavy industry is kind of a bad word, but it's kind of necessary for us to get our needs met as an economy. So I think that's lacking in the plan. And I also think that we need to remove a bunch of very aspirational elements so that we can find a way to fund the things that we really need rather than these kind of outlandish goals and objectives. Thank you.
Thank you. Just to clarify, when you say zoning, you mean the land use that's in the general plan? Yes, okay, so just, I try to, I'm not correcting you, but I try to just make that distinction that it's the land use designations in the general plan that I think she was speaking to, not the zoning code, which we've been trying to separate out, because again, the general plan does not change what the zoning is, which is what your immediate entitlements, as we call them, your rights, how you use your land is based on your zoning, which is what you have today. It's the most detailed. Okay, Anthony.
Next is Kulike Chong.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, go ahead.
Pretty much all the family over here said exactly what I've been saying, so cannot really say what they said. The other thing is, we all talked about the road that I don't see how we gave a county road to Wyman Town and turn it to the street. If we don't build or think about doing one bypass, that's where the state should come in. But we gave them an already good road, and now we stop. We don't road there nowhere. So that was my question, because I feel if that's a problem moving forward in any development, we don't want to do any more development. But it's coming. And I feel it's the post office, the kids, you pick up the kids from school. There's absolutely, this place was never built to be this big. Never built to be there. I've been here all my life, everybody knows. And, yeah, that's my question is, I don't know why the state here this way. You guys know? But, you know,
I know. What?
So what happened, as it's been explained to me, right, because I'm sharing what was told me. The federal government has a lot of guidelines on what they do to give funding. And what happened is there was a disconnect in the state highway. And what they said was, is you have to have a complete highway to be able to qualify for certain pots of money by the federal government. So what happened is you have the state highway stop over at HPA, and then it didn't start till it came over here. And so what happened is we were losing out on some federal funding because it was not a completed highway. It was the segment, it was just a disconnect. And so we disqualified ourselves to get some federal money. So what they did is they negotiated with the county, and we ended up with Konapuli Highway from Hobbytown out to Palo Valley. Now belongs to the county. That used to be state highway. It's now county road. So there was the swap that was done.
Mahalo Sue. Kulike, you call? It's a more question.
yeah, I had more, but all the pressure I wanted to.
Okay, thank you. Just making sure. Okay, then, next person we have is Kohala Wilcox. Kohala.
Well, here's you guys, 130 minutes.
Mahalo, you have 3 minutes.
Hi, my name is Kohala Wilcox, born and raised here. So one of my concerns is the ever-growing population here, the ever-growing increase in price of housing, pricing of land. You know, I understand this agenda of plan, general plan wants to include housing for, is it 900 to 1,000 people? Is that about it? And then in 2045, is that the projection?
So it's based on a projection from the US Census and comes from, data from the state that hires a, company with a lot of people who know how to navigate
So the guys that
the
go
census
door to
that
door
projects
asking.
based on past, it projects future. So we're not saying we want that many people to come here. We're saying that that's the projection based on trends over time.
Okay, with that said, that projection going on by the census. A lot of our Ohana here said exactly what I was gonna say. How are we going to take care of what we have now? Our roadways, our water infrastructure, our lighting infrastructure. Like Kulike said, this town wasn't built to have this much population. Coming from a healthcare perspective. I moved back about 3.5 years ago to Big Island. And I can't tell you how much more people live in Waimea. Now we are wanting to develop land to make more housing. How are we gonna accommodate those people? We can't even accommodate our people. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So another thing is with this housing that's gonna be developed, eventually it's gonna be developed. We all know that. Who is going to be in charge of selling these houses or these lands or whatnot? Who's going to say how much it's gonna go for? Who's going to say pretty much that, how much it's gonna go for? Because I recently went through trying to buy a house, right? The census, 2024, Waimea median, little over 100,000. Anyway, I don't know who they talked to, wasn't me. About 13 to 14% poverty in Waimea. So now we're talking about bringing people in, more people in. And we already have poverty here. Within the past 2 years, I know 3 families that got displaced because the people sold their house, they've been renting a long time. They don't even live in Hawaii. Sold their house because their mortgage was paid off. Now those families are displaced. They cannot go get another house. They can't afford it. So I get it. People want to move here. This is beautiful. Waimea is beautiful. But who can afford it? So how about we take care of what we have now? Yeah, our roads, our lights, our poverty, our health system, right? Food land went and sold out the CVS pharmacy. Now we got Long's Pharmacy, we got KTA Pharmacy. With the ever-growing population in Waimea, those 2 pharmacies are barely hanging on to accommodating our people here, mostly our kupuna. Because we have so much people moving into Waimea. So how are we going to, how is this plan going to implement taking care of what we need to take care of now? When later down the road, that development is coming. It's coming whether we like it or not. But we gotta figure out a way how we're gonna take care of what we have now. Another thing, I'm sorry, I know it's going on 3 minutes, but I want to clarify something real quick. On top right here, page number 98. Objective 14, I think that's what it's even. Maximize the use of rural designated lands to preserve rural character and lifestyle. Talking about ag land and not rezoning ag land that's already zone ag land. I just want clarification, what does this mean? Amend the zoning, there we go, actions 14B. Amend the zoning districts currently listed as family agriculture district and a residential and agricultural district to be consistent with the rural designation and to allow for home occupations that do not negatively impact rural character. What does that mean, the rezoning? Amend zoning districts to be consistent with rural designation, to allow for home occupation. What does that mean?
So for people who need to work out of their home, it's to try to allow that in the rural districts. That's what that's attempting to do, to try to meet people where they are. Not everybody can afford to, especially if they operate their own business, a lot of times they can't afford to go out and rent space in commercial areas. And so, or if they have a type of business that's a one-on-one, like one person at a time, or maybe they don't even have customers come to their home, but there are various types of occupations that can be done from home. And so it's to allow for that in the rural designation.
Where does amend zoning districts come from?
And zoning code means the
Where-
actual zoning code. So when you see it capitalized like that, zoning code, that means to actually amend the zoning code to allow those types of uses or zoning districts, yes. And I'm looking at two different ones, but I'm now seeing the one that you want.
So correct me if I'm understanding this incorrectly. Right. Ag land can be rezoned to allow for home occupation? What, I'm sorry, so incorrect?
No, so we're talking about two different systems. The GP is looking at this overarching land use. And then zoning designation is like the specific use. Now, when we say rural, I don't know if you remember, April showed us from urban to rural, there's a land designation. In that land use designation that we have in the GP, we have different types of zoning districts that can be in that, right? So we're trying to say, right now where it lives, because we don't have a very good explanation, or it's not consistent currently, what rural is and the difference between agriculture. Family agriculture, family ag lives in agriculture, as opposed to living in rural, which really, that's where we would want it to be, because the farm will be a little bit smaller. It doesn't need to be an acre. You can have family ag on half an acre. And so really moving those more denser farming activities in rural, so that it's supporting our rural areas, and that ag can then just be for agriculture. So, and then in that zoning designation, or when we're talking about the zoning districts, if we're gonna have family ag in our rural areas, to allow some of those families, like say they do have a farm, but maybe dad runs the farm and mom has massage therapy, and she wanna run it from the farm. She can, as opposed to renting commercial space in the next town that might.
Okay, so this has nothing to do with rezoning ag land to something else.
No,
Okay, thanks.
absolutely.
I just wanted to clarify that up. One last thing I want to clarify, right above that, 14A. Amend the zoning code definition and requirements for lodges and reconcile similarities and inconsistencies with the special permit provisions for retreats. Clearly articulate in the code and zoning districts appropriate for lodges. What do you mean by retreats and lodges?
So that's the point. That's
Oh,
exactly
that's
the
it?
point.
We
The
don't
way
have
the
it.
code is written, it's confusing. It's confusing, and there are clear distinctions between those types of uses. And so what this is asking for is to better define that. And so it requires us to amend the definitions in the zoning code in order, if this were to pass, if this action were to pass in the general plan, that's something that we would want to address. That's something that's been brought to our attention, that's important to people, and to be able to make that distinction.
Is that being like, is that gonna be allowed for current land homeowners? Like people that are here now, right? Not in the future. Is that allowed now?
Yes. So whatever your zoning is, if it allows for a lodge or for a retreat, the point is to make better clarifications and distinctions about different types of visitor accommodations.
So you guys should put it as a proposed change in it.
It's not. We appreciate that, but these kinds of changes, like to a zoning code, that's a totally separate action that we've talked about tonight as well. That in order to make a change to our zoning code, it goes through even if it's issued, started by the county council, which we have a lot of such zoning amendments coming from county council or from the department. It goes through a process. It has to, we develop the actual application, if you will, be it from council or the department. It goes through the planning commission and gets reviewed and deliberated and recommended from in some way, either up or down or different from the planning commission. And then it goes to the county council, who ultimately makes that decision in the course of a minimum of 3 public hearings.
I'd like to interject at this point because we've been given the opportunity for over 10 minutes to have your chance. We do have 8 more up in line, and that goes for Noelle Lindsay, Maya Bertelman, Ursula Chong, Tiara Flores, Cindy Evans, Tehani Barton, Kalani, and Sharon Olsen. Thank you.
Hello, Noelle Lindsay. I wish I came to these meetings 10 years ago. My grandfather told me before that it doesn't matter what we say as Hawaiians, they're gonna do what they're gonna do anyway. So I'm hoping, reviewing, catching what I'm seeing in the plan. I'm hoping that you guys can fulfill your plan vision. I see that this is not your decision, that you guys are merely putting together a plan, helping to put together a plan for the community. So I'm just asking for consideration, like true consideration for everyone's on all here. I was a beneficiary of the Holy project with HICDC. In fact, that's the only reason my family is still here, is because the home was affordable. I think I got it in 2001. I was 18 years old. My wife and I, we got our first child, and they gave us a chance to build our own house. And we put in every weekend, every holiday. We worked really hard, and we built 8 houses in 10 months. So I like that the county is getting more of this land for affordable housing. I don't know Mr. Benioff personally, so I would never talk trash about someone I don't know or who is not standing here as well. I will say that the rich don't get rich by giving away stuff for free. Currently, my house is worth $790,000. My original loan was $134,000. I'm not sure if anyone in my situation right now could afford a home that's $790,000. So I'm not sure how that's all going to work. I pray that works out for people here. I'm hoping that they allow people who are from here to get those homes and they're not moving people over from the mainland. My daughter and her husband and her granddaughter have to live in Vancouver, Washington. So it already affects us. Holy Farms. The second I heard they were gonna build farm lots down there, I said, what are they gonna grow? I can't grow spinach in a garden without double checking my water bill. Over there, it literally rains maybe 10 days out of the entire year, and not that much. I am hearing stuff about how much the home's gonna cost and utility pools and all these fancy stuff, and I don't know one farmer that buys an $8 million home with an infinity pool. So I'm assuming that there are gentlemen farms, right? There are gentlemen farms for people to come to visit, raise one goat. That's all that's gonna live down there is a goat. and get the agricultural tax breaks, water tax breaks, all that stuff that come with ag land, right? I don't know where they're gonna get the water from. I've been on water restriction at least 10% for the last 21 years in my own home. They tell us don't wash your cars, don't water your grass. We don't have the water down there. They're saying they're gonna pull it from the aquifer currently. We already heard, we don't have the reservoirs not fixed. I don't know where this water coming from. I did notice that they started to put up, water containment systems along the riverside. I know that in Hawaii, you own the water and it goes through your land. So I don't know how they're gonna take water. I guess they're all part of the same resort area, Rockefeller, right? So I don't know where all this is coming from. Like, until we fix, like everybody's mentioned here, until we fix the problems that we currently have, I don't know how all of this development can move forward. I understand that money, right? Money drives, right? So in order for us to put up a new road, somebody gotta pay for that. Right? And it's gonna be the new people with big money coming in. It's gonna help pay for that. So I had some notes, so I didn't word vomit all over the microphone.
5 minutes.
Sorry, I'll make this one quick.
Yeah.
Also, I wanted to like just talk about Upper Lloyd, right? So the land taxes where I live, triple two. If you put I don't know, 144 lots, I think they're opening up for Holy Farms. If you fill those with $8 million homes, I gotta leave. I'm not gonna be able to pay my tax. You know, if I had the money, I might buy one of those $8 million homes, but I don't. And I don't know if there's someone here or some way to get some politician to freeze taxes for current residents. I don't care if you've been here 1 year, 25 years, 43 years. I'm not against anybody moving here as long as they're fighting alongside us. You know, but things like that, I think will help us, right? I know the development is coming. I know the money is coming. I know the money is here. So the hope is that change is slow, consistent, instead of real fast. Because those are jobs that Hawaiian companies potentially will put money into Hawaiian companies, right? The development, the roads, infrastructure, all that stuff. My hope is they hire the Hawaiian companies instead of the lowest bidders coming in for the mainland. I know them all. I went to church with them. Right? They came in, they built Kohala, they built Mauna Lani, they built Mauna Kea, all those $1 million homes. And then when everything crashed, they went home to Utah. Right? So hopefully you guys can help the people. Hopefully your plan works. Appreciate all the work you guys have put into the plan. With all the goals that you guys have set. I did get an application for join your guys' crew. I'm a firm believer if you're gonna say something, you step up in your mom.
Hi, Brown.
Hello, Kako. Hello, good to see everybody tonight. To the county planners, mahalo nui for all the efforts you guys have put in. 2005 to 2024 is a long time. It's a long time with no vision. And it's a long time with no movement. To the South Kohala CDP Action Committee, aloha no. And actually, my comments are gonna be to you folks tonight. And Uncle Bill knows this. The foundation of the CDP was founded in a few things: water, community, families, and safety. One of our Ohana members, Yvonne Lindsay, went house to house to house to house to house to house to make sure that our local community understood what the CDP was all about. And made sure that we had a voice
at the table. My first comment is that when I look around this room and I read the faces, I know that many of us lose sleep at night, cannot sleep. I know that water is one of the biggest issues. And I will say this again till I'm blue in the face. From the house of our grandfather, Waimea Spuliana is to maintain the water molecule of the space. Bioindicators of this INAM tell us explicitly that there is no capacity of life to be able to support and sustain all of the development that is being proposed. So to the CDP committee, mahalo nui first of all for having those openings. Because to all of us who are here, it really matters that we become part of it. I'm the least likely person to be on any board, and I'm on one that is mental in a good way. But we all gotta get there. Because if we don't fill the tables, then our voice will never be heard. The other thing that I would say is this. If we're on a committee that is representative of Kohala, South Kohala, then part of that privilege is to be able to fight for and speak on behalf of us explicitly. And we really have just a few issues. Water, no development because our infrastructure cannot support it. And family. When I look at the plan, and actually when I look at the statement, I guess it's a vision statement, I'm gonna read it. Because I want us to be able to hear the words that are written in the GP and ask ourselves the question, does it truly support and define who we are in Waimea, South Kohala? Hawaii Island is an exemplary leader with healthy and resilient communities that are built by sustainable development. So I'm gonna go back. Hawaii Island is an exemplary leader with healthy and resilient communities. I agree with that 100%. The next part, resilient communities that are built by sustainable development. I do not agree with that. Not at all. There's nothing sustainable now, especially when we say yes, yes, yes. Because the code says, HRS says, the code says, and that's what we need to do. That is what we have to take back, please, planning department, because that we can't. We cannot keep saying yes. We talk about, I love how you broke down the three regions and one of them the natural designation and how you talked about it had the ability to protect our canopies because the canopies protect the aquifer. That natural designation also lends itself to the Kohala region, right? To the Aina Puli, to the Aina Ko, to the Aina Mino, not just to the canopies of Mauka, but to the canopies, no matter what their heights are, Makai. So when somebody says that we want to go ahead and open up Oli farms as an example, we gotta be able to say, oh, what at all? That is not one. Because that jurisdiction is relevant for all parts of the movie, not just one. The aquifer, and I'm all finished with this. I couple everything Uncle Wayne said. I will always couple everything Uncle Wayne said. And so many others in this room. As a teacher, 15 years ago, I took my kids up to the watershed, and we do it all the time, but I took them specifically to the reservoir. 15 years ago, what they told us was that for every day that it doesn't rain, well, Kalamai, the clear well can hold 2 million gallons of water per day. In fact, I think it's 2.4. Then we have all the other reservoirs, but we know that they're not all operating. For every day that it doesn't rain, we're pulling 2 million plus gallons of water out of the aquifer every single day. To be really clear, and you guys already know this, but to be really clear, that water services Kohala all the way to Paulding. Yeah, I will. So with that said, because I can only speak from the front door of my grandfather's house, he told me this himself. Why man means all things pertaining to water and relevant to water. And I bring that to this space that was special and sacred to him and to his family. So from the GP standpoint, there's a lot more work to do. And mahalo nui to you folks for doing your kulana. To the CDP standpoint, the privilege to be able to sit in this space and do the work is important. The privilege to be able to speak on behalf of all of us is really, really important. To all of you who are here, we gotta get on the boards. We have to. We don't have a choice in that. Because if we don't, it's not us fighting us. The last thing, and I know it's probably been 5 minutes, how long I am, but the last thing is this, is that it is up to us to be the stoppers at the door and say no. That when we read through that vision statement, we have to ask ourselves the question, is it absolutely relevant to where we are today? Because I think if we ask ourselves that question and we mill over it and we lose sleep over it and we lose sleep over it and we feel kind of low inside ourselves about it, then we can truly and honestly make better decisions for us. Mahalo.
Next testifier is Ursula Chong.
So first, you want to get in late, because yeah, I was forgot about the meeting that I saw on my post. But you see this book, there's a copy for each one of us, and I took it, but really, I didn't read it. And so I took down some notes as I was sitting on the bench in the back. And, so I just want to really understand this meeting. So you guys are
South Kohala Community Development Planning Action Committee,
Okay.
volunteers, not paid.
Yeah.
By the way,
Thank you.
yeah, Kanaka,
Good.
at heart,
Thank you.
born and raised.
Yeah. And so, you know, another slide, I saw you guys put up an upside down triangle, and it's kind of want to understand, right? I don't understand it really. So the upside down triangle, I didn't take a picture, and so what I remember is, we're at this stage where it's like, this is the plan, this is the idea we're discussing. And then it goes to like policy or something, and then action. That's, okay. Okay, good. And I don't do this often, you know. Speak at many meetings, but, you know, I don't actually have time. I just want to say, a lot of us here, we're busy. And so the elected officials that are taking the seats, we really depend on them. But they're elected and they put in that seat to speak for beneficiaries. That's the people, that's our forests, that's our waterways. I'm repeating you guys, and I heard it twice. No, you can repeat, you can see it again. And so please, you know, our elected officials, like, think about that, like speak on behalf of the people and our land and waters. Anyway, okay, so I walked in here trying to figure out what this meeting is. So far, so good. Took some notes. And so this plan, the idea, you know, I'm grateful when Ohana come up and they tell their family story. So their family story, really, each one of us, you know, to my teachers and bros, just tell your family story. And so like, oh yeah, because he was one that went deep into his story. I have a real short one, that is when I was a young mother. I think I only had 3 kids back then. And then I was talking to an auntie on the bank of my the fence line.
And, you know, I was having some trouble just dealing with myself and how I process it. So it's Andy, it's like, you know, what are those the things that are important to you? And I said, yeah, my kids and education. Anyway, she brought up water. So she's like, you know what's happening out Mongo? And back then they were trying to put up like fence lines to protect some of the invasive, the native plants, which the fence lines were going across waterways, plugging out the water. Anyway, those were big meetings back then, and I never attended with my husband. My husband was at those meetings. Anyway, so water is anti-pro garbage. And I thought, oh wow, I better listen to her. Because she's older, number one, and she's been around, she's been paying attention to water. So anyway, this plan, you know, what I learned over the years is, any plan, any development, the first thing, right? The first thing that we need really is water. You gotta make sure there's enough water, there's access to water. And then, of course, the end of that, right, after it goes through this process, is the wastewater. Where is it going? So I'm repeating again, and it's because water, for me, for my family, the Chong family, gosh, I didn't even introduce myself, I'm sorry, first of the Chong. Anyway, so I'm a farmer down my field, and I'm the last one to get water. So I'm in a unique position. So at the top, where the farmers inland, their kuleana is to divert the water, so they split it at the waterhead. So one leg of the water comes down my leg, the other one goes down to the other end, which is Uncle Suigani Koshima. So my end, I'm the last one. So that water comes, you know, some of it comes over from Kohala. So when there's development, I mean, I encourage you guys to go back into your person that you're gonna report to, that you know where that water ends, right? It ends up at the Mulibay, and before the Mulibay, you guys. And I'm a farmer. I feed a lot of these families, and I feed my own family. But what makes the kalo and the poi ono is the quality of that water. So please take that back and mention it again. That water, or the farmers in Waipio Valley, you know, any kind of development in areas like upland here, Waimea, Kohala, just wherever that water ends up, you gotta go talk to those farmers down there. I don't know who they're talking to, and then they wanna make a plan, but if the area already shows that, you know, there's no water, there's no water. Oh, okay, so anyway, and then I started thinking about, yeah, you can finish up, so 6 minutes. And then, it's the need versus response, pretty much, you know, we need, I saw this flyer, it says, you know, when they look at it, what watershed, biodiversity, native habitats, that's like all needs. And you get wants like visitor, industry, you know, those other bigger developments. So really consider those things, like, is it a need or is it a want? Take care of your waterways and your farmers. And whenever we won't starve, you guys. We're gonna work with the farmers and the fishermen. We all have our communities where we are able to give folks a little bit more feedback on how we're doing it and the importance of water. Okay, and then also, you know, like, how about we repair some of the things that we have already, like reuse the abandoned buildings, you know, upgrade, like you were mentioning like upgrade the band, the bleachers in the Waimea Park, the roadways, our schools,
just, yeah, just reuse what we got. Okay, wait, one more, you guys, and then, yeah, so I don't know who was talking about industrial, zoning, industrial use. So that made me think about reusing, those abandoned buildings and places that are already developed, and you can just fix that up. Okay, last thing. Oh, yeah, so I was just thinking, like, who follows up? Like, who follows up the 2005 plan? Like, who followed up and said, oh, these are parts of the plan that really works? Like, and then track that, who's tracking it, right? Who's tracking these projects and these ideas, and which it moves, right? It moves into action. And then did the people, like, did our communities and our families benefit from it? But we wouldn't do that now. I mean, did anybody do that? I mean, do we have an update on that? Like, we just moving into a new plan, but there's the old plan, and what's the update on that? I mean, we can tell you from our own family stories that, some of it worked, maybe some of it didn't. But that's another thing I want to insert is who's tracking, these ideas and getting feedback, and then what was the outcome of it? And there's probably more, you guys, but yeah, I just encourage everyone to come up and tell your family story, because these people need to know so that they can go back to their persons above them, and then they can come back to us again and call another meeting and follow up with us. Thank you. Thank you. Cindy Evans? We have three on the back after Cindy is Tehani, Kalani, and Sharon. Thank you.
All right, good evening, aloha. So, I am your elected official, and there were some things that I wanted you to know that I wanted to share with you. Over the years in my background and experience in my story is I've looked and I've worked with these type of plans. And I have to tell you that these plans can either sit on the shelf and not be looked at, or they get pulled and they're used to justify a decision. So it's really important that we look at the detail, and sometimes it is in the detail of these plans. And I wanted to point out one thing that really bothers me personally, and that is public access. It says mountain access to the mountains in all zoning districts as determined by the director to provide reasonable means to access of public trail sections. Well, that's totally discretionary to the director. So one of my things that I would say to staff is if you could go through this plan and show all the things that are at the discretion of the planning director. Because you're asking us to give you insight and you're asking us to give you advice, and yet in here you're given discretion. And I think that is really critical that we find out where we give him or her that authority. The other thing is, the other day I was at the Native Hawaiian conference, and it was just so exciting to see the leaders of the Native Hawaiian community, lawyers and doctors and professors from the university, and they were all talking. But a common thing that is coming up is water, 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 water. And so this section on water is really weak. It's only a few pages. It needs to really get into the Native Hawaiian, the law, the water. It really needs to really speak to it, and it is really not there. It's missing. It's gotta go in there. Because then I'll give one more comment is, so when people come in front of the council and they say they want to change the zone, the planning director will say, we think it's in alignment with the land use map plan. So this land use map plan is so critical And one of the things I noticed is down at the intersection of Kohala Road and Queen Highway, it has been designated urban expansion. So everywhere, including the Ouli, you see it here. It's all urban expansion, and that's right above the Heiau. And what really bugs me personally is they have urban expansion below Waikoloa Village and Queen Kamano Highway. And one of the things that we have discovered for those of us that know that water goes downhill, our reefs, our coral reefs are getting ruined from brownouts. Brownouts is because the water is going into the gulches and it's going out into the ocean. And we are not doing our floodplain studies. We're not understanding that we're hardening surfaces and we're sending water and the gulches are getting deeper. And so I have some real concerns about the maps. And I wish the maps were up on the wall so that everybody in the room could see the vision of where the development is going to go in our district. And so I really wish we had more time to really dig down on the vision, which is the visual vision. And that, I think, has not been done. I would hope it would be. And then I guess lastly, I want to say, on the ag dedication and non-dedication program that the council just passed, very difficult to understand. The real property division put together some rulemaking, send out letters to people. Everybody's like, what in the world is going on? They should have had workshops and outreach like this to tell people that they were going to change the ag program. But I got feedback from some people that it lowered their taxes, other people that rose their taxes. And I'm not a tax person, so, you know, please talk to the real property tax division. But what I've done is at Tutu's house on Monday, October 21st, we're going to have the real property tax division. And we're going to talk about these ag property assessments. And we want you to come and you want to hear what has been done and hopefully further explain it, but more importantly, you know, they tax you based on your use, not on your zone. And that's the key. If you have vacation rental and you're a homeowner and it's ag, they're gonna hit you big because you have a vacation rental. And it's gonna change your whole ag rate. And so, you know, there's a lot of nuances to it, but I really advise you to come to that. And, you know, there was comments about me reaching out to people and telling them what I'm doing. And I have to tell you, you know, the Waimea Community Association is amazing. They've had Zendo Kern there to talk about the general plan. There's been workshops. I mean, they've done a great job trying to reach out. But, you know, as of the first of the year, I was told, because it's an election year, I can't make an announcement. I can't do anything at the community association meetings because it's a nonprofit and nonprofits cannot support politicians during an election. So if you think I'm silent, I'm not trying to be silent. I'm trying to find a way to get the word out. So I will be putting up a banner on the road to let people know I'm going to have that meeting on October 21st. So again, you know, it's really trying, you know, to find ways to engage and get answers, because the council can go and change things. You know, it's not like if there was a mistake made, we should correct it. People were very upset about the food sustainability ag assessment program they wrote. So we went in and we amended it. We pushed it out another year. It's not going to take effect for another year to give people more time to talk about it and see if they really want it. So we did do that a few weeks back. And then to the action committee folks, my comment is you have a heavy lift because the community like Yvonne and Lindsay put all that work into the vision of what they wanted for this community. And we have looked at you to really make sure that that vision never gets lost. I don't want the vision of the Community Development Action Committee lost. I want it somehow incorporated into this plan and make sure that some of the things that this community has always wanted doesn't get lost in what I'm concerned with is very big, broad policy statements, because you're trying to plan for the whole island And sometimes your statements are way so lofty and way up here, they don't get down into the community and what the community is asking for. And I have some concerns about that. And that's why I think it addresses your concern about the cultural resources and historical, some of the things that are so important to this community, that connects them to the past and to their, I'm sure, ancestors and their stories. And then, but you don't see it quite in the general plan, but that's, I think, because we tried too hard to cover the whole island in one plan. And I think the cultural legacy, we need more of that, I think, in this plan. So there's my comments. And thank you so much.
What time is the meeting?
Thank you. Chair,
And I was on 5 to 7.
October
yes,
20th.
Natasha?
Yeah, so, we have on the map, just a quick response, because, I said it before in some of the other comments, right? A lot of the things you guys have concern about and the decisions that are being made right now are based on the 2005 general plan. So we have here kind of a slide. This is what the land use, maps look like in the 2005 general plan today. These are what decisions are being made on today. So before you go, this is the Uli area. We have its own mixed use. Again, decisions are designated, it's not zone, sorry, designated. And so when we're going through the process and they're saying it's in line with the GP, these are what the maps look right now. So if we go and she's gonna slide the thingy over and she's gonna do this, we really try to reduce as much as we could through the processes that we've done. So again, what I'm trying to get at is that decisions that you guys are concerned about are being made today based off of 2005, the importance of really looking through the changes and what this plan can put forward, really tries to tighten a lot of that. And hopefully decisions that go forward after the adoption, in whatever state this is, that's what we're looking at. That's what the vision is for, if that makes sense. So I'm just trying to, yeah, so I'll turn it back over.
Thank you, Natasha. Next up is Tehani. After Tehani, we have Kalani and Sharon. Thank you.
Aloha. O Tehani Martin ko inoa no Kalani Maui Maio. I just have 2 points, or I guess 2 questions. Mahalo for you guys for, you know, this, I'm sure this is not an easy task, and I hope you folks don't feel that we're angry at you folks. I feel that we are just tired, and I know me as a mom, I'm scared, what future my Kiki have here. I don't know much, but did you folks, I know you said, you spoke to like farmers in the community, but did any of you speak to any cultural practitioners or like someone as amazing as Kumupua or Auntie Pomai? And so I think, you know, to have these discussions is definitely reaching out to them, and they're super nice. They're really nice. And I feel like we're all wanting to help. It's just most of the time we don't know what's going on or we don't know how to help. On page 175, I'm just gonna read a little quote that's on here. Affordable and safe housing is another fundamental aspect of community health. So when I introduce myself, I'm originally from Maui. I moved here in middle school because my parents couldn't afford a home on Maui, and luckily my papa from Niue had a home to give my parents. I always dreamed that I would return home, but I couldn't because I can't afford to go home. So if you were to actually look up on Zillow, to buy a home up country is $1 million, $2 million, and it doesn't look very nice or anything. It's your basic house, which I don't mind. I just wanted to go home. But I met my husband in high school, and we were able to settle here in Waimea. And what I fell in love is because it reminded me of home. And I fear that my Kiki won't be able to call this their home. And when I see how much development is happening here with old farms, the land, I know Parker Ranch is selling a lot of land, next to Pukalani Stables. That's like on Saturday during the parade, my Hanai sister, she was a Pa'u rider, Piniho Ohana. And I took a photo of them and you could just see the clear, unobstructed view between her and Mauna Kea. And it's sad to know that one day that won't be there anymore. And I know it's all of our kuleana to make sure that doesn't happen. And when I look at this affordable housing project, I'm like, oh, look at all the little orange dots. Now, I bet you I can color all the places that cost $1 million that my ohana cannot afford. And one of my friends went to the Native Hawaiian conference, and one thing really stuck to me was, if we are not at the table, we are on the menu. And so I believe it's all of our kuleana to help. And if we are unable to make it on the board, I hope you reach out to us. I hope you take the time after this meeting to exchange numbers. Like, there's a lot of amazing people here. And yeah, that's all I wanted to say about mahalo.
Next is Kalani Guerrero Tini.
I just had one question, because from 2005 till now, that's a long gap.
Yeah.
We gotta change with the time, some piece of paper. I mean, how can we trust something that started in 2005, I'm not saying nothing's changed, but we gotta make big changes. I think some changes could be done, especially with all the Manao and everybody here that lives in the community and speak truth. I mean, I think everybody can agree with all the truth they're speaking. But with the language that has been said a lot tonight is, this is the final draft. But everybody in Manao where that hasn't been heard, sounds like from 2005. Or if it has been heard, what happened to it? So, with this general plan that's supposed to better our community that we live in, we gotta change with money, taxes, climate change. But this piece of paper cannot have some big changes from 2005. This is the final draft. We're always going back to start in 2005. And I think somebody asked, what is the updates and stuff like that? What changed from 2005 to now, except that little map that went from big orange to small orange? So, I mean, it's kind of hard to trust something that, one, can't be heard from our community that's going to be affected by it. So I just don't understand who we gotta talk to. It's gonna go to the county council. They can hold it for however much they like. You guys putting on a piece of paper or pieces of paper, 200 something pages together. And then county council, so you just pass it on. And then maybe 10 years from now, another committee will come by and put another general plan with what changes. I mean, 2005 to now, it just doesn't make sense to me. That's all I got.
Thank you. Next is Sharon.
Okay, I agree with everything that's been said. I'm a small ag person myself, but that's not what I'm here to talk about. I'm here to talk about this much, talking about health in this plan. There's nothing. It says preventive medicine. Show me one preventive medicine. Are you talking about mammogram? That's not prevention.
That does not prevent anything. That makes money for insurance. Okay, it actually puts women at risk for breast cancer. I've been in medicine for 50 years. And none of you probably, well, few of you know me. I was run out of business here. Not because I'm a bad doctor, I'm a good doctor. They told me I'm forbidden to help people. I am here to drug people. And that is all they will allow, is the doctor to drug you for a symptom. Never get to the cause, never. I was put out of business for helping people here, but I'm not out of business. And I'm not a very confronting person, but Cindy, I got an issue with you. Okay? You came out to my office about 17 years ago. And I told you, insurance companies told me 10 minutes with the patient. And if you can't be finished in 10 minutes, you kick them out of your office. Okay, you know what you told me? You told me, I suggest you do as you're told. Yes, you did.
That is not me.
That is
Thank
you, please make your comments.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I just wanted to say that. I'm sorry, but we've never talked since then because I don't particularly care to talk with a lot of politicians. Okay. I've been here a long time. I knew in oh my gosh, 1983 that I would be living here. I put my prayers on paper and I prayed over it. I made a leg and I went and threw my prayers, my leg into the ocean. 19 years later, I started having dreams of my house here and I was called. But I think I was called here to expose this issue with this hospital here who is murdering Hawaiians one by one. I know of people who have been murdered here. And nobody looks at it. There is not a single Hawaiian that is safe in this hospital without somebody with them all the time. The insurance companies refuse to do a vitamin D blood level on Hawaiians because it costs them money and they can go get sun. Well, the lowest vitamin D levels I have ever seen is on Hawaiians because they wash off after they go to the beach and they wash the sun off their skin. So they get high cholesterol. They put them on drugs for high cholesterol. Cholesterol is right under the skin. You got to keep the sun on your skin to process the vitamin D in your body. But if you wash this off right away, you don't get that vitamin D. And nobody's going to tell you to take vitamin D, but it causes high blood pressure, heart disease, autoimmune disease, diabetes, osteoporosis, osteoarthritis, chronic pain.
Excuse me.
Yes, okay.
For a minute.
All I'm saying is that, what are we doing? We're not really giving any health care here. They're putting patients on drugs that are unnecessary. They don't talk about prevention. They don't talk about health. They forbid the doctors, and the doctors that are employed here have debt. That's why you see all the young doctors, because they employ the ones that have debt. I just think that it's sad.
Thank you. Last speaker, one more speaker. Ready?
For Wyoming, I've been here about 40 years, and a couple of things that come to mind tonight. I'm so thrilled to see you turn out. I'm so thrilled to the stories that have us do that, because it's so missing. And we can be mad, and it's not their fault. But if you don't speak up, and if you honestly, if you don't vote, you don't have a voice. You know, their stories are going to be lost. This place is changing. The leadership we have right now in the county needs your attention, your focus, and your support, or your butt kicking. Maybe more the latter, but I wanted to thank the staff because you're the victims, you're not the evil guys. But if you don't tell your stories, they don't know the water stories. They don't know the cultural heritage stories. And honestly, our council members are not paying attention enough. This ag bill that's so much here right now was passed by our county council. Majority of the council passed that bill, and it is going to significantly change a lot of people's circumstances and potentially force them to sell their property and leave. I worked at the middle school for 20 years. The population of students, the enrollment was down over 50 kids. And next door, the elementary school population is down over 100 kids. And those children are not living in Volcano or, not Volcano, Mountain View. No, it's not even Mountain View, it's Ocean View. They've left the state. Your voices are very important. And it's hard. I cannot imagine having family and jobs, and sometimes 2 jobs, and maybe some animals, and maybe a sick or older parent that you're caring for, and managing all of that and still paying attention. But I would urge you to please do so. Think about the community association meeting. My cousin is fabulous, and the Homestead Association is very much overboard. And sometimes we go to these meetings and, I'm sorry, I'm trying to say the meeting. People say things and they're very angry, but you know what? If you listen, you learn. And I've learned quite a few things, very recently because of some of the harsh voices that have come out. So I just want to say thank you for being here. Please don't not come again. And please vote. You've still got time. It really makes a difference. Thanks.
Excuse me, I just have to, and thank you, Patty, that was a beautiful way to wrap it all up. Keeping all of this in mind, I'm just gonna say that the next thing we have to stand for, and since you guys are here, this is the body, and you too, because it's at the county council, we have to look at that property across of Earls. We have to look at that ag property that is currently trying to be rezoned at the county council level with a huge sprawling commercial development there that they said would never happen. You keep the development in Waimea proper, but now it's coming out towards this way. So all I'm asking is, you know us, we're gonna be 24/7 as usual on alert. And when we ask for testimony, that's all. Just say no, we can't have more development across of Earls right next to the Kiwanis. You know, right next to that Parker Ranch where I grew up in that little greenhouse that was once yellow. Right there where the Mitsunamis were, you know, the Kiwanis, and then there's Earls, and the Kiwanis are really asking for our help as well. This is one of the last agricultural parcels right here in Waimea, and we can do it. We can do it, and we don't mind taking the lead on it, but we all know nobody can do this by ourselves. We just can't. So I will let it already went to the county council for one reading, and there was no decision per se. I think it has to go 2 more times perhaps, but I'm right here, you know what I mean? I said, I'm gonna have to call you because we did one at a time. But this is right on par with what this meeting is about. It's not the future, it's tomorrow. It's the next day, right across the street from Earl. So when you pass by there and you look at that farmland, that is the epitome of this meeting. This is gaining one parcel at a time. And, you know, I'm asking you folks to listen to us too, because this is exactly what we're talking about. We have to save things one parcel at a time before we lose everything. And we're not going to do that because, as we know, there's no turning back for us. There's no turning back for us, all of us, for our Waimea. So when I call on you, when we call on you, when the community calls on you, when you call on me, I promise I'll be there. Okay, and I think we will for each other. So mahalo everybody, and I just really needed to say that because that's urgent. So
Mahalo for your manalo.
We don't have forms, so moving forward with the agenda, would be the minutes. So we cannot continue. Is there any more questions for tonight other than me giving announcements? Go ahead. Yes.
On, habitat protection and, ecosystem protection. And, invasive species, as we put in there. So this plan, does it continue to keep fencing our forests and eradicating our people? Because you know, a lot of you guys don't know, we can find a problem in the community and farmland, beach, you see with the people all the time. That is the result of fencing in the forest. 10 to 15 years went by, that is the result of one can go home back, we come down. And another thing you wanted to point out, the forest now, with no more people. The first couple of years, the environmentalists will should tell you what the scientists, they say, look, this fence, this side, how nice the forest is going. And this side where the ungulates, not as good, but you can walk through. Now, when you go to the forest, with no more people, the forest keep growing. All the native species of plants, the woody, we cover it. The sphagnum moss, we cover the ground. Believe it or not, all the real plants dead. So, the spotted owl up in California, they will designate how much acres to protect the spotted owl. What happened? The owl been burned. Now they're rethinking. And that's what we gotta do. Monetary, same thing. Nobody can come and change. The Hawaiian philosophy, Hawaiians take care of land, we have to have animals. Everything was balanced. So, my question, you will protect, are you still going to fence and kill the things that we live on? And the things that the state is supposed to be making sure that we have together. Fish run the ocean. They're not doing that. And most of these lands, these problem lands, it doesn't even belong to the state. And it needs to come back. Just like the 3 million acres that the United States gave back to the Native Alaskans. The land gotta come back under international law. What the United States did was wrong, and they need to make that correct. And let us, the people who live on this land, take care of our own land the way it should be done. Malama, everything. And you know, I hope that somebody can come and say, and really look into this. Because the problem, they will create this problem by fencing. And now, the county like give the farmers money to fence their land. What they should do is give the guys who spot or who remove animals. You know, it's common sense. But I hope you guys take this into consideration because the animal will still be offered. And we live off of them more now. Because look at the store. $100, you get one bag like this, never was like that. So the land is what we survive on. And if you guys think that what they did in the forest is the right thing to do, I tell you what, how many of you get a vegetable garden behind your house or a flower garden? You know what you do? Fence on the people. Then you see what I'm talking about. The pig, yeah, he dig the land, but he also do too. Many places in the world, different places, the pig plant the forest. And it's not his fault that we keep bringing in more and more invasive species. No more good quarantine, and we gotta deal with them in the long run. So anyway, I had to tell you that so that you guys realize how important that animal is to us. The water, the feed, everything, it's living, harmony, and we live in harmony with nature, and we always have. And all this development is changing everything, because why? We get more newcomers coming in on a city that will see things the way we do. They don't have to live the way we do. And how important the animals, and the ocean, the water, everything needs to us to survive. And the only way you guys will learn is when you're on major war and nothing comes here. Then you will come see the chief, what we can eat, what we can eat. Then you will realize. Thank you very much.
Last one.
Just want to elaborate on what he's talking about. And he mentioned wild pig, so to speak. And I was on the Wildlife Conservation Association club that was all against fencing of the watershed area. And the result was that had monitored the fencing and what it had caused over the mountain. And that mountain there provides most of the water for all the areas all the way down to Kohala. Found that the fencing had caused debris to come down with water runoff, clogging up waterways and diversion of waters. And that was all on account of things being done man-made. And fast forward, the sheep on Mauna Kea was as an ungulate species, a threat to the endangered species, including the Kohala bird. And Lloyd folks did studies, and they had proven that the Kohala bird was thriving more so because of the wool from the sheep used to encase the eggs from the bird. And they found later on that the wildcats was the one that was eating the eggs for the decline of the Kohala bird population. So there's a lot of misconceptions that scientists and people that does studies on these birds, especially the ones that set up these huge nets and they catch the birds in the net and they neuter it so that the population would decline for justification of getting rid of the ungulate or the sheep and or wild cattle. And yes, what Lloyd had mentioned about the wild pig, he's actually the farmer of the land and the tiller of the soil, and he opens up areas where vegetation is open up so the sunlight can come in and they can propagate and move the seeds around so there's regeneration or regrowth. Whereas on, like you said, on the other side of the fencing, everything is encompassed and overgrowth and it's all choked in and it doesn't propagate. And that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Okay, I'd like to make an announcement. The announcements. Okay, so where we go from here, let me just retract that. So the minutes of this meeting will be in the future at the next quarter South Kohala Action Committee meeting. It'll all be together. That's different from what everybody's individual issues are that spoke upon today. And we just wanted to let you guys know as the chair and being a stewardship of our Aina and our Kupuna, and my mom's half Hawaiian and Uncle Buli really know my Ohana. I don't carry the last name, but it is in my blood, you know, and I come from Hamakua area and I had to move to Kauai, and now I live next to Dolan, Takushi. And so just be proactive and not reactive. That's my message to the community, to our age, for our kiki. And that's why I'm sitting on here. And I'm so proud for you guys making the time today. Because my kiki still waiting for me in my car. And my Kohala had to go buy McDonald's. But you know, even though I know, I hope you guys understand that I gave you guys the respect more than the 3 minutes that is allowed. Because I believe you guys are worth that. So let's come from me. And thank you to the staff for providing this manao for us to learn and to gravitate to. Because without community efforts, if we don't know, then go find out. And I'm very humble to say it. Thank you guys for just bringing the courage to speak today. It's not easy. And this is actually only my second one. And so I just thankful for you guys to come today, because moving forward, we're gonna hold elected officials accountable. We gotta teach our kiki for vote, because it's not practiced in our homes. So evolution, we gotta evolve with the times. And we cannot blame nobody but ourselves on the impact we have for the future of our families, our kupuna and our kiki. So with that said, The announcements, we have openings for board and commissions because it is a term seat. So go on the general plan, community development for South Kohala, or even if you're Ohana in another district, let them go apply, let them follow up on their application, follow up with the mayor's office. There is a process, it's a heavy process. We are volunteers, we're not paid to do it. And that's what we do because we have heart for our community. The other one is we'll have this, there will be the Waimea Community Association, the Civil Defense Preparedness event happening this Saturday, September 28th from 10 to 2 at Waimea Community Town Hall. And then, any other last comments or questions from staff? No? Okay, mahalo nui, everybody. Please drive home and drive safely. Then we can adjourn the meeting. Thank you. And if you guys want to connect on the side, feel free to hit up anybody or, call, let us know. Thank you.